Hello, this is Sean Kirk. I'm with AI Trade Lift, and what I do is interview individuals in various trades. I have TJ Thompson from Cascade Custom Pools. You are the president of the company. The company's been around since 82? Is that right, TJ? Something like that? Okay. And from what I understand, it was started by your father, and you're in the Austin, Texas general region. You know, what happened, how it caught your attention, or caught the attention of me, was your website. We came across that, and the amount of awards that your business has won is very impressive. The quality of those photographs are phenomenal, and the things that you guys have been able to create. And so I kind of wanted to find out, like, how did you guys build this thing? You know, what did you have to overcome to get where you are, and where are you heading down the road? So we'll just start first with, how did the business ever get started?
As you mentioned, in 1982, but before I was born, my father, he was actually, I guess, maybe in 1980, 79, something like that. While he was in college, he was working for a pool builder in the Austin area and learned the trade. He's always been in construction, but pool building was new to him and new to a lot of people really back then. And then he thought he understood enough of it to start his own business. And back in the early 80s, Austin was a pretty small, sleepy little college town.
Yeah.
So there wasn't a ton of business opportunities, but enough to get his feet wet. And so in 82, he struck out on his own and found pretty good success right out the gate, partnering with some home builders. And because he was a small outfit, essentially just him in a truck, you know, he didn't have much overhead to where he was able to take baby steps, and you know, he didn't need to take on a lot of work just to survive the first few years. And you know, fast forward probably 10 years or so, Michael Dell, when he basically came to town, the Austin economy really started taking off, and he kind of got in bed with some of the Dell executives and built several of their pools, and that really helped him out. And I guess he just kind of had that model. You know, it was him and maybe two other employees. Until fast forward to about probably 2006 or 7, I was kind of wrapping up college and was starting to get interested in the pool construction business. I always did it during the summers, so I was familiar with it. But to be honest, I wasn't super excited about it because I just kind of saw the not so fun end of it, the digging trenches and cleaning job sites and stuff. But what really got me going was the 3D design in the residential pool market really wasn't a thing until probably the later 2000s. And a software by the name of Pool Studio or Structure Studios came out, and I happened to see it in a pool magazine, like an advertisement for it, and it reminded me. I was big into like simulation games growing. I wouldn't say big, but I enjoyed those, SimCity and whatnot. So that it kind of, it reminded me a lot of that. So I took a few classes, and the first class I ever took, I was the only person in the class, literally. and now I would say probably 90% of residential pool design is done through the software. But in
so
the early days,
you guys were like in the little bit of ahead of the curve on that, so to speak, in the Austin area?
Definitely for our market, for sure.
Right.
I can't say that for, some other bigger markets, but definitely for us. And so that really like piqued my interest, being able to produce a 3-dimensional, really nice, real looking rendering and then watch it get built and it be pretty much exactly what my mind thought up. So that's when I realized, okay, I do want to do this for a career. From there, I did that for a few years, just for the most part on the design end, and then realized that Austin really started blowing up and starting to get a little bit more competitive, and I wanted to change our model a little bit. And my dad and I we didn't butt heads or anything. We've always, for the most part, been on the same page, but I would say he wasn't 100% on board with a different model. And when I say different model, meaning, let's staff up, let's hire people to do, and let's delegate things. And, him and I can focus on some other, larger items. And so we slowly started hired a project manager and a second office person, and it kind of morphed from there, and now we're at about 10 full-time employees. There's a kind of a floater that would be 11 that's kind of seasonal, and then of course we have a real strong sub base. In fact, some of our guys, they're paid as subs, but they only work for us. but it was just kind of taking, I guess, the type of pools he was building, but just being able
Right.
to produce more and grow with our city. Like our city was growing so fast, and we wanted to keep up with it. So we were able to do that, and we've got a nice office now that's west of Austin and in a nice area, and just staying with it. And we're very involved with the industry as well. It's something that my dad really didn't think held a whole lot of value, I guess, back then. And what to his defense, they're really I agree. I don't think being a part of the industry back then, there really wasn't much outside of just everybody's personal business. Now we have
Right.
several organizations and several conferences a year, and some of my good friends are other pool builders now, and I
Right.
think that's really helped us grow and push the
It's
envelope and
the
do
community of pool builders, so to speak, right? The
correct.
pull a community together.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep.
Very good. Your company, Cascade Custom Pools, was mostly just building the pools and setting up the pools. And did you start some kind of a service side of
Yeah.
those pools?
Yeah, about 7 years ago, a gentleman that was working for us, that was our construction manager, him and I both thought that there was a lack of service guys that kind of did everything, meaning they do new pool startups. So once the pool is plastered, it takes about 2 weeks of brushing it, dialing in chemicals, and just making sure everything's working properly. And most models, at least in our market, it's a separate company that does that. Some guys do it in-house, but it's very time consuming.
Right.
And it's not super complicated, but it takes a lot of time to do a proper startup on a swimming pool. So most people or businesses sub that portion out. And we had just gone through several different companies, and the good ones, we would find good guys, but then we would grow their business for them, and then they would kind of hire other guys that weren't maybe so good. And so we saw a trend where we were hiring a guy we liked, would work with us for a year or two, and then we would watch his business grow, and then they would kind of go off and do their own thing. So our construction manager and I decided, let's find a guy to do it for us, and we'll run it under a different company and just kind of go from there. And from there, people would ask, hey, can you just go ahead and service our pool? Took care of it for the last 2 weeks to a month, and everything looks good. We're comfortable. You understand how it works. We just want to hire you.
That's smart.
Reluctant at first, but then we decided, let's go ahead and do that. It morphed into 400 clients and
Wow.
20 something trucks. And so
Yeah, why not? Why not?
yeah,
Huh?
yeah.
That's actually pretty awesome. I can see kind of hooking in with the new construction, but do you ever get jobs with that service business from other companies that build pools? Yeah.
One of the reasons we were able to grow a lot faster is there's I guess they're considered a competitor, but they build a little bit different type of pool than we do. We try to focus at Cascade on really, really high end projects, and we have a limited amount we'll do a year, and we're comfortable with that. There's other guys that can build, they're set up to build 150, 200 projects a year.
Right.
And they're good at it, and they're nice pools, So the service company partnered up with one of those guys, and they're building 150 projects a year, and we're starting up 150 of them. It's a good chance we might get 100 of their clients. So we were able to build really quickly doing that. Yeah. And so that, I think, is giving someone else advice, that's in my industry, team up with some pool builders and really try to do their startups, because not only do you get paid to do their startups, you just are given a lot of their maintenance clients. And as long as you're doing a good job, they're going to be your best friend, because you're the last guy in that backyard. So
That's right.
if you do a good job, the last thing that a lot of those clients, that's what they remember. So keeping them happy is important, and you can really build a nice service company.
Very good. Now, looking at your website, and some of the designs of what's been created there, were you a good part of those design structures yourself?
A lot of them, yeah. The past few years, I've stepped back from a lot of that. Not necessarily by choice or design, just by kind of how the market has changed, or maybe even we have changed as a company, where I feel like every year we're more complex and bigger projects are coming across, my desk, to where I would say the majority of our projects come to us fully designed by architects that spend I don't know how many hours, but they'll bring us in to kind of consult on the mechanical side. And the good architects, they might draw something really pretty, but they want to bring in a professional to make sure that what they're designing is going to function properly, and they get a lot of of the mechanical stuff done before you get too far into it. Because I
Right.
have had to be the bearer of bad news a few times that, hey, this looks beautiful, but it is really not going to function the way you think it is with the area you have the equipment placed and this, that, and the other. So we've developed some relationships with a lot of architects that know that on the front end. So they bring us in pretty early. So we're still a part of the design, but it's more of the mechanical design, not really the
Right.
pretty, looking pool that you see.
You got this footprint. You make something look fantastic, but where are you going to put the mechanical and all the other things, right? That's what they want to know.
Yep.
Good.
Yep.
Okay. Well, what do you see in the industry that's been changing over the past couple of years, and where you see the changes in the industry coming forward?
I think for years the pool industry has kind of been, like when my dad started, a bunch of guys in their trucks that are, they're
Hmm.
good builders, but it's didn't. There was really no education in the pool industry. There not a lot of guys traded ideas and stuff. And what I've seen in the past 10 years is so many builders are talking to each other. With the internet, there's all these
Yeah.
chat groups and these conferences, and I've learned so much from guys, different methods from other parts of the country that work great here. Some that wouldn't
Mhm.
work, but a lot that do, that nobody they didn't know about it, didn't consider to do it, but it's an easier way or more economical way. So I think the communication in the industry from builder to builder is huge, and I highly recommend it to anybody in the industry. It's changed our business, and
Yeah.
the schools that are out there, or I guess the certifications now. There's a company or an organization called WU, which stands for Watershape University, and they have just amazing curriculum, and it's kind
Oh,
of
wow.
designed an engineer kind of put a lot of it together that sort of specializes in the pool space. And there's another really good one that's called Genesis
Hmm.
Watershape, and I hold a master in both of those schools, and the curriculum is pretty much the same. It's just two different
Hmm.
organizations, but
Right.
the contacts I've made through those schools, and it's hard to put a dollar amount to, and you kind of get put into a different class. And a lot of these
Sure.
architects are starting to see that if they come from some of these organizations, it means they know more than the average pool guy. So
Sure. Sure.
that's been big, and I think the industry is going towards that, to where the buyer's starting to understand that that
Yeah.
we want these guys to be educated and have some of these certifications.
That's very good. How do you build this business? How do you draw people? How do you promote your business? What's that look like?
It's kind of cliche, but a lot of it is word of mouth, and a
Sure.
lot of it comes from architects and builders. And what
Okay.
I've found too in the past probably just 5 years, that the architect world in Austin is small. They talk a lot,
Yeah.
and you impress one of them, you're going to get calls from other ones, and then it's sort of a domino effect. As long as you hold up your end of the deal and you do what you say you're going to do, somewhat easy. And it's easy for me to say that too, because we have been in business a very long time. So
Sure.
that
Sure.
that definitely helps, and I owe that to my father.
Yeah. But now, in your president role, does that put you kind of more in the kind of a PR position with these architects, and you're the one meeting up with them and those types of things and building
Yeah,
those relationships?
early on, I'm usually the one that meets with the architects, and then depending on where we are in the design phase, I might like if I know this certain project manager is going to manage that project, I'll bring
Hmm.
him in kind of, before we start construction, but not necessarily on the front end. Just there's a lot
Right.
of back and forth that it's just they don't need to be involved with. And they're
Okay.
better out in the field. But
Good.
yeah, I would say a lot of my job is, overseeing the different aspects of the business, and I do a lot of talking with the architects and GCs.
Yeah. Okay. From the kind of the business side of thing, what's the most challenging issue that you guys are facing in terms of, I don't know, scaling to a next level, whatever you consider that to be?
Really, a lot of it comes down to personnel, and I mean skilled trades. Like Austin, there's so much development, but there is a small, very skilled sub base. There's not a lot of subs that are really good at what they do in the pool world. So like there's only one architectural concrete guy I will use. I've used
Oh,
several others, and they just didn't work out, to where we get limited to what some of these subs can take on. It's better now than it probably ever has been. But, for instance, during COVID, we pretty much just put a stop to a lot of construction, because it was the last thing I want to do is hire somebody that it might be mediocre, but and that might be fine for the guys that are building 200 pools a year. But we are
right.
expected to build, these monumental projects. And so we've got to have the right guys doing it. and you
Yeah. Do you have, how do I want to say it, like some kind of a training, learning management system, some kind of way in which you bring people in and get them up to speed to the caliber that you're looking for? I just wonder, are you finding guys that are, if you're one of the top builders or the top builder in Austin, I would imagine that you have to put some energy, effort, and time into training some of these people. How does that work within your company?
So it's challenging. We use a lot of subs. I mean, we are a sub-based company, and every builder,
As a lot of builders are. That's not
every builder in
unusual.
Austin is. There's maybe one or two in the state that are pretty much all in house,
Yeah, yeah.
and not one of them is in Austin. So it does get a little challenging with the subs. But like I mentioned earlier on, there's a few subs that only work for us, and we have actually paid to get to have some of them trained. And when I say trained, meaning taking some of the classes from the organizations I mentioned earlier. And that's us putting time and money into these guys, and they're not in-house guys. I mean, they could tell us, hey, I got your education, see ya. But obviously, we have a relationship with them that we know they're not going to be going very
They've
far.
earned that level of trust with you, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's right.
So, one of the things that I think has been huge that the generation of my father didn't have is the classes and the organizations that I can send some guys that I think are worthy of it to get educated. And, these classes, or these, I guess, schools, if you want to call them, they've got everything from swimming pool, electrical, plumbing, design. They have business classes. I mean, it's a whole spectrum. So that's been huge. And then we've got 3 project managers, and each one of them has gone through the certifications. And that's kind of one of the things we pride ourselves on too, is if you're going to be a project manager for us, then you're going to be certified. And we use that as a marketing tool as well. When I'm talking to a client, ensure them that the person that's in charge of their project has a high qualification. So
super important.
Makes them feel better.
Well, it does. And it's also, you're showing to the client that you're investing in your people, not just whatever. He looks good on a resume, and I've seen a couple of his jobs, but he's been certified, right? Studied and certified. So that's very good. Yeah. So now, one of the things you said on kind of the introduction call before this one is that you said you're kind of transitioning from like Monday.com into JobTread. How are you hoping this platform will make a difference for you?
I hope that it really saves time on the estimating side, because that is one thing that's a big bottleneck for us, is estimating. I'm still very involved in the estimating process, because a lot of these projects are very complex, and you really got to sift through a ton of design or plans and engineering to make sure you've checked all the boxes off and you're not missing anything. And so, in a lot of our projects are hanging off sides of cliffs where you could be 20, 30 feet out of the ground. So everything has to be looked over with a fine-tooth comb. And this JobTread, I know that it has a very intuitive estimating portion of it. So I'm hoping, and it also converts your estimate into a proposal, which our proposals are very detailed, and a lot of them, it's old school, like we're literally on a Word document typing out certain things and we're writing. It's not just we fill out some numbers and it prompts this pretty proposal. There's softwares out there, we've tried them, but for the type of projects that we're estimating, it's challenging to do it in some of the systems we've seen. So talking to other builders that are build projects like we do, they've had pretty good success with JobTread. So I hope that's what we find the same.
That's very good. Now, will it also prepare like I guess a bill of materials, like this is what we need to build this?
Yep.
Nice.
It's
that's
supposed
very nice.
to.
Then of course you just can't blindly accept it all. You got to look it over, but it gets you going in the right direction. So that's pretty awesome.
I think the more it's used, the more comfortable we'll get with it, and just like anything.
Just like anything, absolutely. So do you see in the business, either one, I guess the pool building and the pool servicing, any areas where automation could be more utilized to kind of free up more time or handle leads better, communication, management, project management?
I mean, really both of them. And I think AI, I think it is it's obviously the future. I probably hear the term AI every 10 minutes, I feel like. And it's one of those things that probably back in the 90s or whenever, like you either embrace the internet or you get left behind. And
Oh
AI
yeah.
is the same way. I mean, it's going to be it's
Yeah.
huge, and
Yeah.
I can't say this is exactly what I think how we would benefit from it, but I know there are things that would definitely help us. I mean, one of the things I know is just as simple as, somebody, and I would consider this AI, I think, but
Hmm.
somebody filling out a form online and
Yeah.
it goes to the right person, it produces the right document, to where we in the past we've had to do all that, like, essentially manually. If someone
Mhm.
fills out a form, we have to transfer the form into our format, and
Sure.
then we have to upload it to this file. And so just simply doing that. And I know that systems like that have been around for a while, but that saves time. And
Yeah, it does save time. I mean, everything from, certainly filling out a form and a text communication back and forth, or they call a number and some of the beginning, conversation is all done through AI. You can, possibly even sift and sort by the kind of job it might be, it's a big repair job maybe, or it's a new place, or maybe it's based on location or the kinds of requests. Maybe this guy needs to go out there instead of that guy needs to go out
yep,
there. Book it all automatically onto your calendar. There are many, many things that technology can do. And sometimes what happens, you have good people, that are taking those leads and answering those calls. And sometimes, the term that's popular you hear now and again is the highest and best use of someone, right? And sometimes we have people doing jobs where they need to be done, but maybe there's a better and more valuable job that individual could be doing if we had technology or some automation to make that happen, right? So that's usually kind of where we'll run in and see what that looks like, and just kind of looking through the process of how the organization runs. You go, okay, well, this could be benefited by doing such and such and such and such, right? Type of thing. But just to free up some time. And sometimes you get used to in your business or any other business, this is the way we've always done it. You go, yeah, and it's like, I don't know if I want to change it. I want to take a chance on that. And so sometimes where you start, sometimes what you'll have is you'll have a software, then something goes into another software, something goes into another software, and you could just automate that process. One guy to talk to, they get gobs of leads, and yet they only have people answering the phone 4 days a week. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, nothing's happening. And then you're calling somebody a few days later. And I don't know how it works in the pool business, because I don't think you're dealing with, 500 options to build you a pool in Austin area. They may wait for you to call them back, but that speed to lead and being able to answer those questions at any time even can make kind of a nice difference, when you look at what some people are paying to get leads. I mean, you've paid the price because you've done great work, you're showcased well, you've got good connections with architects, you get happy customers. This isn't your normal pool in the backyard type stuff you're doing. So those people have people, you don't build a pool like what you've built, your company's builds, and never have anybody come over.
right.
Yeah. You're having friends over, look, my pool, who did your pool? They're probably in the same socioeconomic class, right? I need a pool. So those types of things are super valuable. You're still making people wait by whatever means. Maybe they still work with you, but boy, that just an extra boost of customer service could go a long way with some degree of automation.
And I think it would be really big too in the service maintenance world, because we get a lot of calls on weekends, and
Mhm.
I mean, to the point where we've actually every weekend we've got one person that's on call, because a lot of people go use their pool on a weekend, and that's when they find, okay, this broke, or oh, here's this
Yeah.
issue. And so for
Yeah.
a service company to get those, I mean, they're getting a lot of those calls on the weekends. So a year or two ago we were coming in on Monday with all these messages and emails,
Oh yeah.
and then we call
Oh
them
yeah.
back and like, oh, I already got so and so out here, don't worry about it. It's like, well, if we
Mm,
just captured the lead, even, and a
that's
lot of
right.
these people would say, oh, we have someone else coming out. They haven't necessarily been there yet, but they don't need us to come out because they already have somebody else coming out, just because they got to them before we did.
Or maybe they're calling on a Saturday, but the problem could be solved on a Monday or Tuesday, but they're calling on a Saturday. So you'd be able to take that, triage it from this is like, stop the presses, I got to get there, right? And then dispatch someone who's on call to run out if you have those guys, and then be able to sort that into, well, I'll tell you what, I can get a guy out there on Monday morning, and and great. And then they're not calling somebody else.
Yep.
Right? They're sticking with you. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah. This is fantastic. So TJ, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here on the podcast, kind of hearing how you kind of like dreamed up this whole service company on top of what your father and you have created, and then get yourself 400 customers. Super, super well done. How well you've been able to connect with the architectural area around Austin, the relationships that you build with your customers, the word of mouth that you're able to get, the awards that you win. Absolutely a top-notch organization. You've got to be really proud of all the create that's taken place there. But if you could, can you just share, just for the last people who might be on here, how do people contact you guys in the Austin area?
Yeah, our office number is 512-264-2453, or you can, on our website, you can email us on there, and we have other ways to contact us through our website, but it's www.cascadecustomPools.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff, and yeah.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. And I wish you nothing but prosperity, success, and happiness.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.